Hello, I am so excited to be here today. I'm Lanissa James, Executive Director of MACHE, the Maryland Association of Christian Home Educators, and I'm thrilled to be here with the awesome Dr. Rochelle Matthews-Somerville. Dr. Rochelle, we are so excited to have you live today. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Lanissa. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, we are excited about our topic, building community and connections while homeschooling your special needs learner. Now, I have to say this before we get started. I have a special needs son, and he's seeing speech pathology, and that's just a snippet of special needs. I certainly am not an expert, even though I've gone all my life with two kids in speech pathology. We in MACHE wanted to bring someone who we knew was an expert to coordinate our special needs for the state of Maryland. And we've asked Rochelle to do that, Dr. Rochelle to do that, because she is well equipped to really help us to navigate the different parts of special needs. So Rochelle, tell them a little bit about your love for Maryland, your homeschool story, and a little bit about your professional background.
Absolutely. This is born and raised in Maryland. Maryland is where we have grown up. My husband and I. My husband is from Southern Maryland, and I am from PG County. We were born and raised here, and we have homeschooled all of our 6 kids. So far, we have the 2 oldest kids that are here at University of Maryland, Baltimore, and they are one is a senior and one is a sophomore. And then we have 2 juniors. Then we have a freshman and a rising 6th grader. So it has been a journey. I've homeschooled for almost 20 years. And so this has been a beautiful journey. And so by trade, I am an educator. My background, like you said, is special needs. And for a long time, I was at the university teaching full time until I was a tenured professor. And then I decided when I started having kids that, I toyed around with the idea of homeschooling, but really had a passion for teaching and that love for learning. And so I brought all my expertise from the university right to the homeschool world. And ever since, I have been pouring into homeschoolers and bringing all that expertise to the homeschool world. And here I am in MACHE, ready to just pour out into as many more families as I possibly can.
I love that. And you have a company. Talk about it. EFM Consulting. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Absolutely. So EFM was, so I co-own EFM with my mother, who is also a special educator by trade. She's retired from Gallaudet University, which is the only institution which supports, that's the only institute for deaf individuals, deaf and hard of hearing. And so her passion was to create a space for individuals that was inclusive for those that could come and be with other students that were not, that did not have disabilities. And so we put our heads together and we created EFM. And it originally was just to have community activities where students with special needs could share a space with others that were not disabled. And it began to flourish. And from there, we expanded our services to creating spaces where people could come. And not only do we hold community events, we started to do academic things like math classes and reading and just all kinds of academic things. But we also do support like tutoring and parent coaching. And at this point, I am doing workshops and we do trainings. And so all kinds of supports, kind of a one-shop place where you can get basically a plethora of support of kind of where to go. So we will get you the support you need. We don't necessarily do it, but we can get you where you need to go in terms of the services in the state of Maryland. And so I love partnering with MACHE because I think that it can be definitely an asset to help more homeschoolers to find services they need, because that's always a tough space for a lot of homeschoolers with special needs children.
Yes, and that's why we call this community and connections, because you're not alone. And it can be very lonely when you have pulled your kid from traditional public school and the services that normally would be provided. You need community, right? You need
Absolutely.
connections. And I know you talk a lot about that. Did you want to share about how you need to kind of find your community, your village, the people who will support you through the needs of your students?
Yes, that's my thing. Find your village. I think as homeschoolers, we do an excellent job finding, the first thing we think of is what we do like, our kids can't homeschool alone. We don't want them to be alone. But I remind families that our kids will be fine because we will make sure they're fine. But we as the adults have to find our village too, because when you find your village, then all of a sudden we have the support we need to make sure that we are successful with homeschooling. And that's super important. So after you turn in that intent form, you start building your village so that when you hit those walls, you know where to turn. That person may be somebody to tell you where the next therapist is, or even where's the dentist that takes neurodivergent kids. It could be where you find your speech pathology. But when you build your village, then you don't get stuck with feeling like you have to homeschool alone. So don't forget, we need our mental support too. We need to know where the resources are. And so building your village and building your community is just as important as being able to find that good curriculum for your child.
Yes, that's so good, Rochelle. And so there are different types of special needs. I talk about speech pathology, but can you go over a couple of the language in special needs to kind of
Absolutely. So you
help
have
people?
you have your physical disabilities, and there's a laundry list of those where there are physical impairments. I mean, you have a lot of the conditions overlap. Like lots of students need speech therapy, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have a certain condition. You can have autism, you can have ADHD, you can have dyslexia. There may be a speech and language component running across all those disabilities. So it's not necessarily the label. Sometimes we have to get to the heart of what does your child need? And a lot of homeschoolers, what you'll realize is that the diagnosis piece can be secondary. I have lots of neurodivergent, lots of executive functioning issues that we've had to address in my kids, but not necessarily, I haven't gone the route of labeling all of them because it's not necessary. They have the services they need, but not necessarily the label. So you'll find that a lot in the homeschool world, that not necessarily the labels are necessary, but sometimes they are. Because if you're looking for a service provider, if you go and you look for a speech and language pathologist, they will need a label in order to service for your insurance company to pay for it. So in some situations, a label is necessary, but in other situations, you can find the support if you know what the issue is with your child. And so, you have your physical disabilities, you have a lot of mental health issues, lots of executive functioning issues that can be dealt with if you know what it is. And so there's tons of supports, but sometimes it's just knowing what you need to do.
I love this. I love this. And we really need someone to kind of coordinate this. I think you said something that's important. You said Maryland. And a lot of times you may hear or you may be talking to people across the internet about special needs, but you have to bring it home to your local community, right? We have
Right.
23 counties and one city here in the state of Maryland, and that's a lot of coordinating. And so Rochelle's going to be, really trying to find the places that you can go, the people who offer services. There are going to be some that are virtual, which is great. That could be out of the state. But there's so many different pieces to it and things that you can do. I know initially when we started homeschooling, we were using our insurance instead of having support within the school, and we started at Children's Hospital and kind of felt our way around of what it was. And then COVID hit, and then we were kicked out of Children's Hospital, and then they were for the first time doing telehealth. There's so many pieces, and as the world evolves, there's just so many different ways to address the issue. I think what's paramount about homeschooling, and I've heard you talk about this as well, Rochelle, is about how the parent is participatory in it. It's not like you're going someplace and they do everything and you can do nothing until you get back to that appointment. Talk a little bit about that because that really inspired me.
Absolutely. When you homeschool, you are authentically in a sweet spot, and you're almost at an advantage when you have a student with neurodivergence, because when you're in a school system, it's almost like taking a child and using a clinical approach. And the clinical approach is basically where you take them into a clinic, where you drop them off and they work in a box per se. Where they go and they get good speech, and then you come out and you pick your kid up and they're like, yeah, they're doing great. And you hear all these great stories about their progress, but yet they come home to you and it's like, well, I don't really see any of that. That's not the model that you want. when you find a service provider, you want a partner, right? And so when we homeschool, we are authentically placed in a very unique position to partner with our service providers. So I tell people all the time, find somebody who's willing to partner with you. And what does that look like? That looks like where you don't need somebody to work with your child 5 days a week, because if you partner with them, they're telling you, hey, come look, watch this therapy session. So this is what it looks like. So then when you work with the child the other 5-6 days a week, you know what to do. And so in that partnership, you are following through. And think about it. If your child gets a service 5 to 7 days a week because you are implementing whatever the therapist is doing, you almost become the therapist for the child. And it's more of a natural way. So now we don't have to talk about generalization or any of that, because the child is getting it every day and it's in the child's natural life. And so it's a very different model, but it's to the kid's advantage because it's a wraparound kind of service that we're talking about now. And so homeschoolers are positioned in a very different way to have the advantage of having that wraparound service and that partnership and all of their ancillary services. And so it's a great model. And so sometimes parents are frustrated. Oh, I can't get that. I want more service, but you kind of have to think outside of the box, because when you homeschool, it is a sweet spot that you can use your service providers as partners. You're on mute, Linda, sir.
I love this. And this is what Marylanders need. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just take a look at the website really quickly, and just so that you know where to go, where you're going to land. And one of the things that we're trying to do is we're also trying to answer your overarching questions. And so we have a contact form on our website where you can send a message to the special needs group. You know, there's a team of people who are going to be assisting us. And that way, your questions, we can begin to point you. We may not have all the answers, but I will tell you, we can point you in a good direction so that you can begin unfolding what works best for your family, right? It's like sometimes I just, I want all the problems to go away. I'm like, can somebody else do it, right? Before we go to the website, the MACHE website for people to see, Rochelle, I want you to talk on one more topic, is accommodations. Sure. I know that, special needs, sometime in my brain, when I think special needs, I think of a young child, but that's not always true. Now that I'm in the club of having a special needs high school student, I know that it can be older children. You want to talk a little bit about accommodations and how this launches into young adulthood?
Absolutely. So yes, those babies do grow up. They definitely grow up. They are cute when they're little, and it seems very, very overwhelming. And we were just talking about this, is that, when we launch them, we think that, great, now they're adults and they're gone. And the reality is that that's just the second phase. But, the great thing is that when we launch our students successfully to the next path that they're going to be on, a lot of times what we're doing, they have lots of accommodations when they're little, and it seems to work very, very well. But then parents get nervous that through that transition and future planning piece, whether it be high school or high school and beyond, what happens? They don't get all of that. If they're college bound, they absolutely will get all of those accommodations. And that's kind of a whole transition process that happens. But rest assured that the access to those accommodations and things are absolutely available. And hopefully through the launching of new services and things like that, trainings and workshops and different types of resources will be available to kind of give you that information. But that information is actually available to you in terms of what accommodations. Every university has federal funding to have some type of disability office or department where they will help students to navigate that accommodation world. So students, our role is to help students be able to advocate for themselves and know what their weakness is and where they need support. That's the only transition, is that when they're young, we can be their advocates. And as they get older, they need to be able to advocate for themselves. But rest assured that that is the sweet spot as we launch them. And not only to college, because not everybody is college bound. If they are going to a trade school or anything else at community colleges, as they navigate other entities, those accommodations in real life exist. So rest assured that that information will be available to you too. So that's another piece that we want to equip every family with, to understand that when they leave school, that's not the end of the accommodation world.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's go straight to the website and just talk about how they can navigate to get connected. I'm going to add our MACHE website to the stage. There we go. And this is an opportunity for you to learn, to you to be able to understand how you can connect with us. And there is a section that says contact. I'm having trouble seeing the site, but there's a connection. There's a part that says connect, contact. And if you go to Homeschool 101, let's see if it'll allow me to go here. Hang on one second. I love this technology. I love it. Let's see. If you go to the section that says Homeschool 101, and let me just take this down really quickly and see if I can do this another way. Hang on one second. I'm going to add. Okay. All right. Mr. Mr. does not know how to navigate the site. Well, I want you to know that this is the MACHE site. We have a drone that flies over Annapolis. You gotta love it, this drone. I love it because our number one responsibility is to protect homeschooling here in the state of Maryland. We have a Capital Day that we usually have 700 people who register or more, and that's a big deal. But today we're talking about special needs, and the way you will find it is if you go to contact, you can contact and talk to us about your special needs issues. The Department of Special Needs wants to begin to understand some of the needs around Maryland. Maybe you know about resources around Maryland. We want to hear about all of that. And then in this section under Homeschool 101, if you click it, you'll see a section that says special needs. And when you go to the special needs section of it, you will have the opportunity to see some of the resources that we already have on our website. It's great. It's incredible. Can't show you now, but I want you to know that it's all there. And Dr. Rochelle is going to be in charge of making sure that it meets the needs. It meets the needs of Maryland homeschoolers who need support, who need to be able to figure out how exactly they're going to be able to navigate homeschooling and building community and connections with their special needs student. So we're really, really excited. So do go in there, visit. We're actually adding a button, right, Rochelle? We talked about this button that we're adding, and this button is going to be, once you've looked through some of the steps that we're encouraging you to go through, then at the end, it'll be a button that will say, contact us, ask your questions, make your suggestions, and so that the department can really get a chance to see what the needs are here in Maryland. Any closing thoughts that you want to share before you go?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the idea. If there are certain resources that have actually worked for you and you think that you want to recommend them, please drop them to us, and so that we can look and vet them and add them to our pool, because word of mouth, of course, is one of the best ways to connect and create community for others. And so instead of going someplace that you've never gone before, it's always helpful when we've had other families who have used those resources. So if you know of a great resource you've used, go ahead and send us a message and let us know what that is, especially in some of those other rural areas. We would love to have that information. But absolutely, I love this idea. I'm excited about the launch. I'm excited about creating a centralized resource hub for MACHE, for us here in the state of Maryland, because a lot of times this is the hard space for families with special needs. It's the hardest part when you decide to homeschool, finding those resources, because you're coming from a place, if you're coming from public school, where it was done for you, and now you become that administrator of your homeschool. And so we are authentically here to create that resource hub for you and provide that support to equip you and let you know that you absolutely can do this. And so I am excited to be on board, and I'm excited to get this started.
Awesome. All you have to do is go to www.mache, that's MACHEMD.org. That's MACHEMD.org to learn more. So thank you, Dr. Rochelle. We're excited that you're here. We appreciate everybody watching. And until next time, we ask that God bless you and thank you for watching. Bye for now.